Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
Go many Díobh.
Noreen, I think we look pretty good.
Lads, you look
I,
amazing.
I mean, I've never said this before in my life, and thankfully, the crowd is small because I'm going to tell you, Noreen, we don't look that bad.
Oh,
But how did you get the two of you are together in the one place?
well, you see, we're working tomorrow, and in Clare, so I'm going to have a sleepover tonight.
Oh, a
Yes,
sleepover party.
yeah,
Yeah.
sleepover party. Yes, me and Noreen are heading to Lahinch to the Cliffs of Moher Hotel to
Yeah.
perform for a lovely group that we have performed for in the past, actually. So we'll do a morning session with them, about 30 people, and then we'll go to a beautiful well, this holy well just up the road. I don't know the townland now, but
This
St. Brid
canner, this canner.
Liscannor, St. Bridget's Holy Well, and we'll bring them there. And
And no, I don't know if it's a beautiful well. I get a dark energy here in that well, actually.
yes,
But
it's
anyway,
it's it's very much a commemorative well for those who have passed away. Yeah, so there's a lot of kind of photos of young people, especially, which kind of connotates
who have
suicide.
died by suicide. Yeah, right.
But that doesn't necessarily darken it for me, really. But
Yeah.
But it's
I
a
get
It's a Bridget's well, isn't it?
This over
Yeah.
the best known bridge as well, or at
In
least one
Ireland.
in Ireland, and there are over 500 of them.
And is there a specific cure associated with that well?
Mm.
What is it?
Yeah, yeah, all sorts of head um, diseases, headache, migraine, that kind of thing. But it'll be packed tomorrow now because tomorrow is Sunday.
And it's
So
Liscannor, isn't it?
yeah, but you can never go there that there aren't people there, and it's a huge tradition for the travellers to go there. So you meet the most interesting people. Anytime I've gone there on my
Here it
own,
is, isn't it?
most interesting people.
it's like a little, yeah, a little house, a little shed, really.
Yeah, little shed.
That kind of
You go down into it, and the well is at the end. But on the way into it, it's very dark. Yes. Now you're looking at images there all along, and
Yeah.
then they come along and they light their little candles and they leave it there because it's dark inside there.
It's sort of like in a cave almost.
Yes,
mm,
it is.
Yeah. Whereas a lot of holy wells are out in the open, aren't they?
Yes, yeah,
You can see nature.
yes. And or usually a well then would have a tree, what we call a billa, a
Yeah.
sacred tree
Yeah.
around. And
mm.
people, the tradition was that you'd leave some little memoir or something, a little scarf or.
Whereas
Mm.
this, well, you have to go down into a little cave. Yeah.
But what we will be doing now tomorrow is we will be circumambling that space there. Go back only if you go to up a little,
This.
yeah. That we'll walk all around there, Podeshel, in
Mm.
Right.
harmony with the
You're going to be
sun, moon, and
cert.
stars.
Oh, yeah. Look, here's a good one of the cave. Look, that you go
That's right.
down
And that's where we gather. We gather outside, and then each people, because it's very narrow, so people go in sort of one by one,
one by one.
in and they do their little prayer inside, come out, and then we'll do our ritual outside.
Yeah. And the
What ritual?
water's pouring out of the side there, is it?
No, they're
No,
just steps, I think.
they're
You
just
see the water there is pouring. I can see water here. Can you
yeah.
see it?
I think that might just have been on a rainy day,
Yeah.
but no, there's no significance to that. I think, Owen. But you relight our little candle of
Yeah.
connection, and yesterday was or was it? Yes, yesterday was the feast of Saint Brendan. And so I want to share some of his wisdom with you. He's very different now to Patrick, but we do have a report of a navigatio, a navigation that he did in search of the promised land. And so I want to share that because it's a great image for us. It all has to do, of course, it's in the realm of the imagination. But we'll start that now, and I want to share his prayer. This is a prayer attributed to um to Brendan. And we can say this together as we start. Here it is. So we'll say it nice and slowly together. Help me to journey beyond the familiar and into the unknown.
Help me to journey into the familiar and beyond the unknown. Give me the faith to leave old ways and break fresh ground with you.
Christ of the mysteries, I trust you to be stronger than each storm within me.
I will trust in the darkness and know that my times, even now, are in your hand.
We'll all say together, tune my spirit to the music of heaven, and somehow make my obedience count for you. Amen. And somehow make my obedience, and of course, obedience from those two words, ab audire, to
Mm.
listen carefully. Make us listen carefully as we gather together now. May we listen to, first of all, the three of us, and then, of course, you'll be listening to each other too when you go into your rooms, into your breakout rooms. And before we go back to Owen, then, your Reuters on law, Reuters on lay, is Gromachrihu. This is a great phrase that we have if you want to pay the highest compliment to somebody, which is you are the love of my heart. Gra Machrihu. So gra and then you're going on to chri. And it's hard to say that, to put that phonetically. That's CHROI. But it's chri. Chri.
Chree.
Exactly. Grama Chrio. So you're going on to the Cree, Grama Chrio. You are the love of my heart. And certainly ye all are the loves of our hearts. And hopefully we're the loves of years.
That's lovely. Yeah, and it's a great time. This is the great time of year for love because on the 1st of May, we entered into the bright half of the year. So in the Celtic Wheel of the Year, it's divided into two, the dark half, which starts in Samhain on Halloween and goes all the way to the 1st of May. And so we just went through the season of Bridget, the season of Imbolc, and which can be a hard season, as we were talking about. And Bridget often has and springtime can have a very harsh and um, an almost devastating energy where you think the winter is over and then suddenly there's a frost or the wind is coming and the promising blossoms get burnt in a frost, you know. And so there can be a very tough springtime has that tough edge to it. It's not all snowdrops and daffodils. And but when you hit the 1st of May, all that is behind you. Not so much where I am here in Western New York. You can still get a frost into
Mm.
May, into in early May, which is the continental climate here, but not in Ireland. Once you hit May in Ireland, you're plain sailing, no more frost, and so it's a beautiful time of year. It's the time when all the leaves come out on the trees now, and all the first blossoms come, and all the tree blossoms come. We had the Japanese blossom festival here in Buffalo. So there's all these apple blossom trees by the History Museum and the gallery area, and the Japanese community put on this big blossom festival, and they have a taiko. There's a Buffalo taiko drumming
No way.
group, and Finn, my 3-year-old son, is obsessed with taiko drumming.
Nice.
Yeah, so we brought him in, and he got to see his taiko drums. And whenever he plays his taiko drums, he puts his drums up on the table, and he whips off his shirt,
Nice. Of
goes with his
course.
2 sticks at the
Nice.
drums. Yeah. So so it's that time of year where we're celebrating the blossoms and celebrating this time of year. So we call this time of year Bealtaine in the Irish language. Bealtaine. And what does that mean? Where does that word come from, Noreen? Tell us.
Bale, pinne. Bale is the mouse. Bale, my veil. Doon the veil, we often say, shut your mouth. Doon the veil. And tinne then is our word for fire. Tinne, a lovely old word too. So biaul tinne. Many call it Bealtaine, but biaul tinne is the
Beal.
original.
Shut your mouth. You can't say. Do you know in Ireland we'd say, "Ah, would you shut up?" Like to like we in a friendly way we say "shut up," but in America, if you say "shut up,"
Now, shut up is a
it
big thing in
it's
America.
very bad over here. You can't say "shut
Really?
up." It means
Yeah.
like it's like almost like a
No.
swear word
F
or something.
off. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No. No.
But in Ireland, we say shut up all the time.
And we say, shut your gob to you, shut your
Would you
gob.
shut your gob? Yeah. We say a lot of things in Ireland that you don't say in America, I can tell you. Um, and So it's the time of year where the mouth is open. So the
Mm.
work of it's when we're entering into Samhain, into the dark half of the year. We often refer to, there's a great Rilke quote from the poet Rainer Maria Rilke, the German, and he says, um, "Work of the eyes is done. Now is the time to do the heart work on the and release the images within you." How does it go, Nora? Can you
And
remember that?
release the images imprisoned within you,
Imprisoned within you.
right?
Yeah.
Which is very powerful to
So
think of
that's
that.
when we head into Samhain, into the dark time of the year. And now Bealtaine is the other way around. Work of the heart is done. Now is the time to release, to go and see, to let those things out of your mouth. This is the time of year. This is the time of year now to say what needs to be said and to do
Mm.
what needs to be done in the visible world and in the world around us. It's the time to get out into the garden and go humping around the garden and do this over here and tip away over here and do those types of things. And instead of stuff inside the house. So it's time to be outside, time to get the sunlight and the fire. And so, like with the Samhain festival, lighting fire was very important symbolically. And at this time of the year, lighting fire, as a ritual fire, is also very important.
Mm.
And it is that fire of do people still light fires, lads, on Bealtaine around there? Have you seen any of that, or where you are, Mihal?
I haven't noticed it. I haven't noticed it.
No, not as much as we'll say. The Festival of Bealtaine isn't celebrated as much as in bulk, around
Mm.
Bridget and so on. So, although it is very, it's very important because it's known, of course, as Mary's month in the Christian
Month of
tradition.
May, yes.
Oh, Mary, we crown thee with blossoms today, Queen of the angels and Queen of the May. Oh, Mary, we crown thee with blossoms today, Queen of the angels and Queen of the May. So, and May altars, of course, were very, very popular when we were growing up. We also had May altars in school and in homes. But again, all that, of course, has diminished. All coming back a lot now. The creation of altars and altar space is so important in our tradition, in our homes. A place that you can rest and that you can connect with the other world. And it's like our bedrooms. We create a certain energy in our bedrooms for sleep. So we have curtains and we might have white noise and we prepare ourselves to go to bed. So too, we should prepare a little space for when we want to pray.
I remember we were driving around the west coast on David White's tour one year, maybe 2018, 2019, like it was recent enough, and we were driving back on May Eve from Connemara on the west beyond Galway down to West Clare. It's a good long drive. It's a good 3 hour drive, I'd say. And as dusk came, suddenly we could see dots of flames up in the hills. And I'd say we must have seen 20 fires or driven by them or seen them in the distance along the west coast. So they were still doing it there along the west coast. Do you remember that drive, Mihal?
I remember it well, actually.
Yeah.
And it was a saint's day though that it was attributed to around that time.
Will be St. Brendan? No.
Don't think so. I wonder if you can remember, Owen. It was called something else, but I must look into it.
Well, as we head towards June as well, too, there are other traditions around. When we get to the summer solstice, there are different traditions there around John the Baptist, and there are fires there as well too, which I think was also part of the Celtic tradition. But the Celtic tradition that we're talking about was very much more interested in these cross quarter days, instead of the big highlights, the big kind of solstices and equinoxes. The Celts were into these quarters in between the equinoxes and solstices. So while the St. John's Day bonfire, the summer solstice
John's Day.
would have
Yeah.
been a big thing, the
Yeah.
bigger festival would have been the May Day festival.
Yes. Yeah.
And also each of the seasons in the Celtic imagination was represented by an aspect of the goddess.
Yeah.
So you had in Samhain, you had the ancient woman.
Yeah.
Terrible words like crone are used. But the woman in the ancient
Bride woman.
elder wisdom keeper
Yeah. Wise woman.
identity, and
Mm.
then you had in springtime on the 1st of February, Bridget, you have the goddess represented as a girl,
Redog.
a breathe og as a girl, the girl energy. And as you head into May, now you're into the fertile woman. If you're thinking of Mary, it's the mother, the expectant mother,
The
the
Bobog.
the
Yeah.
expectant mother, and the fertile woman, the the feminine energy entering into fertility. So and then in Lunasa, as we're heading toward, we have harvest, the whole idea of bearing fruit,
Mothering. Yeah.
of harvest and mother. So that's this time of year associated with. So yeah, you had the at these times of year, nor the May Day. The maypole is also a big associated with Celtic traditions across Europe and in England more.
Mm.
You never had that growing up, Nori. The maypole, was that ever a thing in Ireland?
No.
The no, was no
No. Now we
maypole.
did have Soura Soura, that lovely little song that you were listening to
Yeah.
before we came on,
Yeah.
and that is all about Bealtaine. But it was more bringing in the foliage, the greenery. When I came over here, the lads had lovely wild flowers in my bedroom, and I brought them in here. So that's that idea of bringing in the wild flowers, and that's sort of coming back now again. No mow May, we call it, where people are not mowing their lawns now anymore, but letting these daisies and the uh,
Okay.
lovely woodbine and so on that you see here.
I'd say you're into no more May, Michal, are you?
I am, yes, considering I don't have a gardener.
Really?
Professionally engaged, yes. No, no more May was music to my ears. Yes. So,
It's no more June and
but
July
you
and
know, like the longer you leave it, and then the more work you have to do. But sure, look,
more work
um,
to do.
the garden here is absolutely booming. It's just about to get good. But it's funny, you learn how to tend it with the least amount of work. It's only the second year I'm here, yet I know now
Yeah.
what to focus on and what not to. So.
And Michal, you have a lovely poem on the fire of
On
Bealtaine.
Bealtaine, yeah. Well, Owen, when you mentioned that drive back from Connemara that night, yeah, I don't know, must be 10 years ago now, I suppose that drive. But it always stayed with me. It felt like a real communing with an ancient rite and tradition that we don't see much of it in our part of the country. But I wrote a poem in dedication to Bealtaine, and I loved your insight on that the Bealtaine is a time of the open mouth, to be amazed and to taste
Yeah.
and to be receptive and to be heard, of course. Dare I say. So I love that idea of a time of year that calls for us to open our mouth,
Lovely. Yeah.
and be in that act. But this is called fire in the mouth because Bealtaine, as you said, Noreen, might come from the mouth of fire as well. So,
Mm.
um, so I call this poem Fire in the Mouth. Each spring, each spring fires are lit, and hilltop gatherings are common, with giddy small talk and sweat in the small of your back. Around the break of May, fire appears, warming the mouth. A tongue of flame melts winter's silent ice, still clicking the teeth. Is this fire your singing flame? Is Bealtaine your memoir? Is this what waking means? days smothered with tired light, but in your mind, horizon hills have cat's eyes, and arriving stars are lit with the fires at Bealtaine. For this season, set your dreams to the high pasture, unchecked to fatten and embody your sentience, qualia imminent and intuitive, fire in the mouth, water in the soul. A mouth begins singing, and the soul dam breaks at Bealtaine. But in your mind, horizon hills have cat's eyes and arriving stars are lit with the fires at Bealtaine. For this season, set your dreams to the high pasture, unchecked to fatten and embody your sentience. Qualia imminent and intuitive, fire in the mouth, water in the soul. A mouth begins singing, and the soul dam breaks at Bealtaine. So I remember those hills having cat's eyes, Owen, and I often imagine when I'm in those ancient places, whether they be monastic ruins or even pre-Christian places here in Ireland, and the castles, of course, that we pass in ruins from the much more recent invasions, maybe around 1,000 years ago. And in medieval times, maybe even 600 or 700 years ago, we're passing all of these ruined places all the time, fortifications. And I often imagine they would have been all lit up for defensive reasons at night as well, with large torches and huge amounts of open flame everywhere.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that was,
fabulous,
mm,
fabulous. Yeah, fabulous.
And as you were talking there too, I was thinking as well, I was just reading something by G.K. Chesterton,
okay.
and he had a lovely phrase. He said, "This world will not perish from a lack of wonders. This world will perish from a lack of wonder,
Okay.
a
Yes.
lack of wonder,
Mm,
a lack of awe, not a lack of wonders,
mm,
which are just fickle. But it's that awe that you were talking about, that amazement that you
mm,
mentioned there. That's what brought it to mind, that quote to mind.
mm.
So the world will not perish from a lack of wonders, but it
Yes.
will perish from a lack of wonder.
And Noreen, you're going to be sharing on Saint Brendan, who you've
I am.
excavated recently, and Saint
Yeah.
Brendan is a brilliant figure when it comes around to the theme of Bealtaine. Brendan, he set off on new horizons and pushed his boat out. And that is the energy of Bealtaine, is to get in your boat and push it out. And whoever will come with you, and whoever won't, and off you go.
Mm.
Throw your oars away and follow the current.
Yeah.
This is the time of year to let go and let fly and let loose and follow intuitions. And there could be no better character than Brendan.
Absolutely.
And I did a good bit of research on Brendan over the years as well too, and he's just the most fascinating character. Yeah.
And I suppose the basic message that we can all take away is that life is not easy.
Mm,
His navigatio was full of challenges and times that they were, oh, because he was on this um, peregrinatio, is another word for it, on this Imram, another word, on this journey for 7 years. And so encountered all sorts of struggles, monsters, griffins, um, all, but so will I go into sharing that now, lads? Or do you want to
Yeah.
please
share
do.
something else?
Go
Okay,
for it.
lovely, lovely. Because we have an awful lot to learn from um, Brendan. Um, so we'll start now with our little exploration with this. This is a psalm or a psalm, as you incorrectly say. It should be Psalm. Psalm 106, which I think is very much, it's from the 150 Psalms, Psalm 106. But I always think when I'm reading it myself, because I know, as you know, lads, I read the Psalms all the time. And so 106 always reminds me of that going out into the stormy waters.
Do you know, no, before you go ahead, I'm sorry, I have to interject.
Go
and
on.
say, I just checked the emails there, and there's been some confusion about accessing this meeting. So if you're watching this recording and you had problems accessing this meeting, it wasn't your fault. We're still getting used to the new Circle app, and we sent out automatic event reminders, and for some reason wires got crossed in some weird way. I do not understand how, but we're going to modify that in future. And what we'll do is send out a dedicated email on Friday with the Zoom link, which was sent out, which had been in the past. We'll send out a dedicated email on Friday, that reminds you of the live gathering on the Saturday. And then on Saturday morning, we'll also send a second email, also with the big Zoom link right there. So we're going to make it even easier and just double check that way. So apologies for those who were not able to gather. And I just see a few more people are coming in right now. So
Great. Yeah, Sharon, you can reply to a few emails there while Noreen
carry
is
on. Yeah.
sharing them.
And sure,
Thanks.
like Brendan's navigatio, it's not always easy, and things don't turn out at all as we think they
This
will.
is
Keep
very
going.
like Brendan's
So
Navigatio.
this a fragment of Psalm 106, and Michal and myself are going
We're
to
going to
do
sing it. Okay, so this is a world premiere. Okay, hold on.
it.
Yeah.
Some sailed to the sea in ships to trade on the mighty water. These men have seen the Lord's deeds, the wonders he does in the deep. For God spoke, God summoned the gale, tossing the waves of the sea. Up to heaven and back into the deep, their soul melted away in their distress. Then they cried to the Lord in their need. He rescued them from their distress. He stilled the storm to a whisper. All the waves of the sea were hushed. They rejoiced because of the calm. He led them to the haven they desired. Whoever is wise, let them heed these things and consider the love of the Lord. And you who are wise, let you heed these things and consider the love of the Lord. Thanks, Neil.
It's my pleasure. It's a powerful one.
So, Brendan, he died at 94. Even despite, so certainly his journey didn't do him any harm at all.
His blood pressure was fine.
So he died in 577. He's patron saint of sailors and the US Navy.
Go on.
Yeah, the US Navy.
So you'd have to be serious now for them to choose you as their patron saint.
And you'll see some little images there of him setting out there up in the corner. But of course, everybody didn't take well to this report that we have, this manuscript. It's a 9th century manuscript, actually, so it's way after Brendan. And there are two versions of this journey. But people didn't take well to it. And so in the 12th century, they said it was laughable, full of folly, not true or truth-like. Then there was a man in the 13th century called Burgess, and he said it was fanciful, irresponsible, unbelievable, fit to be thrown into the fire.
There you go.
There you go. 17th century German man, Roland Hagen, he says, though, this is the worst example. One Christian lies. And of course, this was completely missing the point. Because whether this is true or not, it is a symbol of this journey that we have. So it's like our version, it's like our Odyssey. Or our Pilgrim's Progress.
Yes.
It's the Voyage of Bran is another one. So we have this mythological dream, really, and we all have it, of sailing to the promised land, this Tir Tangre, as it was called in Irish, and finding it. But of course, then he found it, and then he had to come back. So it's like any pilgrimage, that this pilgrimage of it has those 3 stages: preparation, the actual pilgrim itself, and then coming back transformed. So it's all about the Celtic imagination. So I'll go down there to Antara O'Donoghue. Then he says, this is an exploration in poetic imagination and an artistic form about the fundamental questions of life. Where are we going? What's next? How will I know when I get there? How will I know that that I have achieved my potential or whatever? So we're all pilgrims, and we've so much to learn from this Navigatio Sancti Brendani Abbatis. That was a full title.
And it's so interesting, Nora, that you got those negative responses. I love that because actually this is fascinating. But when I was looking it up, I discovered that the Navigatio was the most copied manuscript, the most copied book in medieval Europe at the time. It's found everywhere across medieval Europe in all the big libraries. So it was actually hugely popular in its day. It
Yeah,
was like a bestseller.
Mm.
absolutely. Yeah,
So it's interesting that you got those negative quotes. I love to see that. That's really funny.
right. And
So
even
at the time, people got it. At that moment, it made perfect sense to the people at that moment. Yeah.
but then there were the uh, no sayers or whatever you'd say.
Mm.
And of course, like the Pilgrim's Progress, Bunyan's um, journey of Christian, again, seeking redemption and salvation. That too was second to the Bible in popularity in the 12th century. So, but it is all about imagination too. Imagination, and we have to enter into that when we enter into this navigatio. And so they all go off, of course, and the first thing is they see clear seas, and underneath it they see a city.
Mm.
And that always reminds me then of Anya in
Hmm.
Lochgar,
Yeah.
that apparently on clear days that you can actually see a whole city underneath. Um, and let me see, what else was I going to share with you around that now? Oh, yes. So just two little anecdotes about St. Brendan, because St. Brendan and Bridget, they were, they coexisted. They lived at around the same time. And so one time Bridget is out tending her sheep and she comes back in and there's a sunbeam coming in through the window. And she takes off her cloak and hangs it up. And of course, lands beautifully. The sunbeam holds it.
Mm.
And so then Brenda says, Irish, sure, look at, he says to his servant, his Gilla, he says, will you hang my coat too? So the Gilla hangs the coat up, not to Dickie Bird, falls down, hangs it up again, no, no. And Brendan is furious. So he says, I'll do it myself. So he hangs his uh, cloak on the sunbeam and it stays there. And then there's another lovely one, which is when they were one time on the shore, Bridget and Brendan, they were having a conversation. And next thing, two whales start to fight in the ocean.
Mm.
One is a big whale and the other is a little whale. So the little whale, of course, is in trouble. And he calls Bridget, he has a human voice, and he says, Bridget, will you help me? And she says, of course I will. And she prays, and off swims the big fella. So Brendan again is furious. And he said, look, I'm on the ocean. These whales, I've had, when I was 7 years on the Navigatio, a whale would always come at Easter and we could land on top of him
Mm.
and he would light our fire, our Easter fire and so on.
Mm.
He said, you're a landlubber. What's he calling to you for? And Bridget says, tell me, Brendan, do you keep your eye on God always? And he said, I don't. Sometimes if and I'm tossed in the sea, I don't because I'm distracted. And
Mm.
she said, that's it. I always keep my mind on God. And that's the moral. Don't be arrogant and uh, don't lose eye on the divine, whatever that'll be. And then in just another little one then on Saint Ida, who
Mm.
is she's patron saint of Ballivona. We'll be going to visit her grave actually
Okay.
later on with our pilgrims. But she reared Brendan until he was the age of 6. She was his foster mother, a foster mother too of Jesus actually. There's a beautiful little poem that she addresses to Christ. But anyway, one time he goes to her and he said, now tell me, Ida, what are the 3 things that God loves best? And she said, yeah, I'll tell you. Trust in God. Trust in God with pure heart. Simplicity of life. Don't be looking for complications or
Mm,
live a simple life. And then open-heartedness, open-heartedness, being big of heart,
mm.
being courageous, Cœur Lord, stirred by charity. And then he said to her, what are the three things God detests? Should I tell you? A scowling face.
That's good.
I mean,
Isn't it, honest to God? Stubbornness in wrongdoing,
I
you
know.
know?
That's
Oh, and I didn't hit that fence or whatever it was.
what?
Do you remember that? That wasn't my fault. That
No.
wasn't my fault.
Yes.
Nice. Nice.
And then
Nice.
two great.
Stubbornness and wrongdoing. Oh, that's you, Owen.
Nice.
That's you.
I wonder where I learned that from.
So,
God loves you. He doesn't. She doesn't detest you at all.
exactly. So I think that
Oh,
was
and the third one though is too great a
too great. Oh,
desire
good
for
for
money.
money. That's right.
And yeah, God loves me anyway.
And the tax man. And he loves the feckin' tax man too. That got
God
me.
loves the tax. Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus.
So, but anyway, so it's great. She didn't say to laugh though, and I think she should have said that. All right, to laugh. And what else?
Yeah.
Well, a scowling, if God detests a scowling face, sure, he loves a laughing face then.
Does? Yeah, yeah.
Well, isn't May 1st the exact opposite end of the year than October, which is tax time, isn't it?
It is.
So that's why May is so special as well, because taxes are furthest away from us.
But
Yeah, you're
Michal,
right.
yeah, I wanted to ask you. The other day, Michal did a beautiful. Was it a podcast kind of thing?
It was an interview, yeah, an
An
interview
interview.
for an online event.
Yeah, and
We
I
we
would I would normally now listen to the boys, like because I'd say, "I figure I've heard all this
You
before."
do, you do.
But I started anyway, and I just found it very moving. But he had one poem that I haven't heard him say for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, oh, do you remember Virtuosa?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that one. Sure, yeah, sure. He's been
Yeah.
banging on about that one for years.
Oh, he
it's
hasn't
I've
true.
heard,
actually.
I've heard it a load of times. Yeah,
Yeah.
You see, I wouldn't have been with you so
yeah.
many
No,
times.
you haven't heard. No, it's fabulous. Yeah, yeah. Resonates with a lot of people too.
Really does, yeah, it really does. I know it's about this unapologetic recognition and being in your virtuosic space. So many of us are in our lives not owning up or recognizing or inhabiting a virtuosic space, that a space that we've honed to the best of our ability and sometime beyond the best of our ability, into that virtuosic space, a natural gift. And there's a great relief when one is able to inhabit. I had to work a lot at it to step into that. It's a service space, I often say, this virtuosic space, that when we're in front of an audience or we're wielding that special power that we all have, that it's really an act of service, not an act of I suppose showing off or narcissism or indulgence. But I was moved to write a poem, uh, you know, inviting and encouraging the artist within me to go beyond apologizing for their own gifts. And I call it the virtuoso. Me and Owen grew up around a music department. Noreen and our father were very much involved in setting up the Irish World Academy. And we were lucky enough to attend lectures and lunchtime concerts. Then we'd often have dinner with this person, a virtuoso, an academic virtuoso, a performer. And then we would see their evening concert that they would give to the public that night. And it's only that night that you would see really their virtuosic identity, the identity they present to an audience that will never sit down to dinner with them, an audience that will never hear them speak a lecture or present an academic paper. This unrepentant and beautiful ergonomic identity that they've crafted over time. And this is called the virtuoso, and it's an exhortation to the excellence within us. And maybe you can extend a hand to that part of yourself again today, the virtuoso. We don't care. We don't care if you're sorry, and nor do you even anymore Why atone for your gifts? Express remorse for your ability, begging pardon in public. Be instead, be instead the unrepentant virtuoso, for it is you who choose to stand, showing us the Spirit stir, then fill and overflow within you. The Spirit does not ask forgiveness nor permission, and upon your stage you can do no wrong. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. We love what you have and need no reminder of our sentence here on earth. Please just set us free, because we don't care if you're sorry, and nor do you even anymore. Why atone for your gifts? Express remorse for your ability, begging pardon in public. Be instead the unrepentant virtuoso, for it is you who choose to stand and show us the Spirit stir, then fill and overflow within you. The Spirit does not ask forgiveness nor permission, and upon your stage you can do no wrong. Get out of the way. We love what you have. We love what you have and need no reminder of our sentence here on earth. Please just set us free.
Perfect, beautiful Bealtaine poem.
Indeed, yeah, indeed.
And also in tune with Brendan, the navigator, who set out against all odds and reached the promised land too.
And set many free in the process.
Did,
But there is that ability of setting someone free just by them witnessing what you exhibit or what you inhabit, you know.
and then did you look at Heaney's poem on Brendan Noring, did you?
I did, and I looked at Paddy Bush's too. Paddy has a lovely one
Oh,
as well. But they didn't really speak. Have you got it there? Oh, no,
I
no.
do. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And
No, for some reason it didn't speak to me as loudly as
Hmm.
well, yeah, you didn't really tell us the story of the navigation.
right.
Do you want to tell us a bit about the story, and then I can give the poem a bit?
Yes, exactly. So they go off, and the first thing is the clear seas. Then the first, they come to all sorts of different islands. One is an amazing island where the trees come, grow up in the morning, and they are shriveled down at night. Another one where, of course, is the whale. Then every Easter that appears,
Hmm.
and they can light their fire. But once they start lighting the fire, the whale goes back into the sea. They are encountered by a griffin, by grapes as big as apples, all sorts of strange birds. Birds are very important because the birds both talk and they sing beautifully, but they have
Hmm.
human voices too. Um, so all sorts of fantastical experiences, our dreams, the equivalent of our dreams, really, as we are going to our own promised land. And then another time, oh, there's another lovely time when they get to an island and there's a ladder going up, quite like Jacob's ladder, going up and down, and there's a chalice and a paten on that ladder, which are the symbols, of course, of Brendan's daily life. And so Brendan sees God in this chalice and paten. And so I think that's also a very important lesson for us that we too can see in the ordinary things of life, in our pens, in our glasses, all of that, that we too can see the divine in it. As John McGahern would say, my ordinary, extraordinary day. So, Owen, you might read that poem. You might.
Yeah, and there was at the time back then there was a very fierce type of monastic Christianity that believed in martyrdom very strongly, and the desert fathers of North Africa and the Middle East would go off into the desert and they would starve themselves to death on a martyrdom for God. It's hard to believe, isn't it? I find it very hard to believe. But it seems, I mean, all the authorities say that it was true. But in Ireland, it was a lot harder to go off into the desert and starve yourself to death. The country is very abundant, and it'd be very hard to refuse the bounties of the land. And you'd bump into someone as well too, and they'd be like, "Asher, come on here and have a pint," and you'd be all right. So what the Irish monks did was they went on what was called a white martyrdom, out into the ocean.
Mm.
And so, seemingly, it was a practice of these monks to go into a curragh, into a little boat, and go off west out into the North Atlantic on a martyrdom for God.
Yeah.
And they would give their lives over to their faith. Yeah.
And a lot of those boats, those navogues are also called, I love that word,
Mm.
navogue and curraghs, they went without oars.
Yeah.
And they let the ocean take them to the shore that they were supposed to be on. Again, another lovely lesson for us that
Mm.
stop trying to, make plans.
Yeah.
Just let uh, let God laugh and let God plan.
And it wasn't really a shore. Like they if they hit a shore, that was one thing. But I mean their intent was death.
Mm.
Their intent was martyrdom. Like
Mm,
they were going to die out
mm.
at sea. I find it hard to believe. Would you find that hard to believe? I find that hard to believe that that was actually a practice.
Some of them are cracked too, some of them are crazy, like, many people that you see who, you know, go crazy on fundamentalism or whatever,
Correct. So they did it. So, but I love again the Celtic touch, of this martyrdom. That there was this very extremist type of monastic Christianity going on in the early Christian church, which was all about going out and starving yourself to death. And then in Ireland, the form was going off into the ocean. But what does the story of Brendan turns into this magical psychedelic mystery tour, and he returns. He
yeah,
returns back to tell the story. So he doesn't die in the Celtic telling of the story. So I just love the Celtic touch where it just turns it all upside down on its head and stops taking it it stops
exactly.
taking itself so seriously. And you don't actually need to die. It's a metaphor. Do you know?
Won't die before you die, isn't that it?
Yeah, so don't take it too literally. And I think that's always a great sort of Celtic turn. And I always laugh at the Book of Kells when you see the Book of Kells, if someone told you, "Oh, that's the Bible," you'd
Yeah,
say, "That's not the Bible. This is the most crazy, extraordinary thing I've ever seen. That can't be the black and white, black bound book that's littering churches, with the yellow pages, and that can't be." But the Celts decided that they would take this story, which is a pretty intense story, and they would turn it into this absolutely wondrous, extraordinary, detailed, magical mystery tour. So the same thing was done with the story of Brendan. And one of the big stories, he has all kinds of encounters. And of course, they're all metaphorical encounters. And they would have meant very
imagination.
specific things to the imagination of people in that early medieval time, that late Roman time when the Roman Empire was disintegrating and what historians refer to as the Dark Ages were starting to take hold in Europe. Great dissolution and what was occurring across Europe, which for centuries this peace, this society had been guaranteed by the Roman Empire, and that was starting to break down in front of them. So these stories would have meant very particular things to those people at that time that today we're not so certain about. We can conjecture or theorize. But one of the stories is really cool. It's told to kids in Ireland, and it's the story of Saint Brendan and the whale, and it's a whale story. And him and his monks. He goes off in his curragh with 12 monks, and they're going around the ocean. And Easter time is coming, and so the Easter time is the high point of the Christian calendar, and they have to say Mass, and they need to find land and prepare the ritual, create the altar, as Noreen was talking about earlier, but there's no land anywhere. And so the monks are freaking out and they don't know what to do. And suddenly this island appears up from the ocean beside them. So the monks run out onto the island anyway, and they go around the island, a small little island, and they find driftwood. And they're able to make a little fire and make a little altar. And they're able to say their prayers. at Easter time. And the island stays there for the 3 days of Easter. And just as they're finishing their rituals, the island starts to sink, and the monks have to all run back onto the boat. And just as they run onto the boat, a big plume of water comes out, and they realize they've been on the back of a whale for 3 days. And this whale, for the next 7 years, this whale emerges up at Easter time to support them for their ritual at their last moment of desperation. And so Seamus Heaney, our great poet, memorialized this in a poem. And for him, he lands on this word vision at the very end. He equates this whole experience as the revelation of a type of seeing, a type of seeing, a type of vision, which I suppose is a kind of a sense of hope, really, that he's talking about. Hope that holds on to the very last moment, and actually almost is lost at the very last moment, and then is consummated, is met by the world, just before all hope is gone. So it's a short poem, and Heaney says of it, he calls the poem "The Disappearing Island." And he says, once we had presumed to found ourselves for good. Once we had presumed to found ourselves for good between its blue hills and those sandless shores. Once we had gathered driftwood, made a hearth, and hung our cauldron from a firmament. The island broke beneath us like a wave. The land sustaining us seemed to hold firm only when we held it in extremis. All I believe that happened there was vision. So he says that the land sustaining us seemed to hold firm only when we embraced it in extremis. That's Latin, in extremis, for referring
Mm.
to the last moment of life, the last breath of life. The final sacrament in the Catholic Church is called extreme unction. The extremis is their last moment, the most extreme point. The land sustaining us seemed to hold firm only when we embraced it in extremis. All I believe that happened there was vision. Vision. And vision is a great word. The etymology of vision is great. It shares an etymology with the Gaelic word fis or fassa, which is fis knowledge, wisdom as well, comes from the word vision, the same root. Vision, wisdom, fis. And Phila is a poet that also shares that etymological linguistic root. So it's a very beautiful word, vision, wisdom, fis, knowledge, knowing, a deep type of knowing, and a poetic type of knowing. All I believe that happened there was vision. Yeah, so that's The Disappearing Island by Seamus Heaney.
Okay.
Yes, and that's also when you talk about filla, our Irish word for a poet is a filla, which is also got to do with fecal, which is to see,
Yeah,
fecal. So they're all connected, videre to vision and inspiration too. So although it is a it's what would I call it? It's a concentration though on the visual really, whereas
Hmm.
I would be much more bringing in the aural too as well.
indeed.
Now, should we break up our little?
Speaking of vision, I'm going to put on Noreen's glasses. Hang on. What
You have to get glasses like that.
do you think? I actually can't see what I look like. Oh yeah,
You
Yates.
have to get, yeah,
Yates.
round, super round.
And I have 42 pairs of glasses. So, but every time when Michal comes over, he'll do something funny. Like the last time when you came over, he put my tea cozy on his head.
Yeah,
And we have a photo of that
Nice.
actually somewhere.
yeah. It makes you look very intellectual.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
that's what it's all about.
Like a
that's what
real
you do.
poet. You look like a real poet when you put it on.
I look like Yeats,
Look like
like
a Yeats.
Or
a more
James Joyce, maybe, or
Yeah,
a more stout or portly Yeats.
yeah.
We had a friend who used to have a few drinks. This is when we were very young now, Owen, and he would drink until he fell asleep.
yeah,
Um, which is common in Ireland,
yeah,
but he would always fall asleep with his legs crossed and his thing underneath, and he wore glasses, so he
yeah,
had his legs crossed and he'd pass out like that,
yeah,
and he looked exactly like W.B. Yeats. There's a
yeah,
very famous photo of W.B. Yeats
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
with his legs crossed, and he looked exactly like Eddie O'Hanrahan if you're out there.
I'd say Yates drank himself to sleep a few times.
He did. He was a big fan of the ladies used to give him their nightshade every now and again.
And of course, that reminds me then of in wakes long ago here in Ireland. We had great stories around wakes that they went on for 3 days, and they weren't just about grieving or on Queen at the keening lamenting. There were always great tricks carried out. And if anybody, after having all this ishkabaha, which is what we call whiskey in Irish, the water of life, ishkabaha, after all this whiskey and pochine that would be passed around, people would fall asleep. And then the young people would play tricks and they'd tie their feet together
Nice.
so that when they woke up, they'd fall over and they. Or I remember there was another one about this man who had a very, very long beard. And he's really down to here anyway. And so when he was asleep, didn't all the young ones, didn't they shave off his beard? And of course, he woke up the next morning and he didn't know. And they followed him to his house anyway to see what his wife would say when she'd see him. There were all sorts of games that they played.
Wild, wild. Will we have a little chat? Good. So we'll have a little conversational partner for let's just do 12 minutes, I think. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A quick session. And then yeah, so anything there around the theme of Bealtaine, this time of year, a time of bringing into being things that have remained dormant within us, breaking out to new horizons.
Yes, your own peregrinatio, your own um, pilgrimage.
Hmm,
What seas are you going to navigate now for the next?
great. I'll open our rooms. We'll see you in a minute. In a few minutes, great.
Oh, hello, Finn.
What's Mama doing?
Mamo's coming now. Yeah, she's coming. But Mamo, I'll tell you where Mamo is. She's right here. She's
Hello, Sadie.
hello, Finn.
Hello, Finn. Best boy. Boy, boy.
What are you doing, Finn? What are you up to?
Is it nearly time?
Yeah, no, we seem to be recording, and we
Yes.
seem to be back from. There's Kathleen Walker.
That's right. Good. Good,
That's-
Kathleen.
That's Finn. Or that's Finn. Hi, Finn.
No.
Nice. Do your little dance there, Finn. Good man.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we'd love to hear
Hear from you. Exactly.
anyone who'd like to
Yeah.
share, and I think I can.
Are you
Yeah,
going to?
go on, Francis. We'll start with yourself there over there in Newfoundland. I'll ask you to unmute and
Yeah.
see what happens.
Oh. Hi, Finn. Can you hear me?
He's
He's probably
he's
gone now.
he's very attentive. He's not the most articulate just yet, thank God.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine. Hello, Finn. Can you say hello to me? Can you see me? Huh?
Hey, there you go.
Good.
There you go. He's online.
Good
His
man.
first big show.
Yeah. And that's good. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
How are
Yeah.
you doing, Francis?
Good,
I'm
Francis.
good. I'm good. And usually I have a dog here, but just at the moment, just when we need him to distract Finn, he's not here. He's normally sitting
Yeah.
He's normally sitting here. I usually have at least one dog. Yeah, causing trouble. Do you like dogs, Finn?
Yeah. But go on, Kathleen, anyway, or Francis, share with us there, yeah.
I was just saying hello to Finn. Sorry.
All
What?
Okay,
right,
nice,
okay.
Oh,
nice.
sorry. Am I supposed to share something? Sorry.
Well, if anything stood out, but if not, if saying hello to Finn is, if we all said hello to Finn every day, then God would be happy.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, I love his hair. Yeah, yeah.
He's a great fellow. Well, you could, I suppose we'll say goodbye to Finn
Yeah,
now.
okay.
Goodbye,
Yes,
goodbye,
yes,
Francis.
yes, yes, yes. Sorry about that. Yes.
No problem at all. We'll all go out and say hello to Finn.
Yeah,
Thank you, Finn. You're bringing the best out in us.
yeah.
Elizabeth, where is Elizabeth? I wonder. Elizabeth, there you are.
Lovely there,
Yes,
yeah.
need to unmute there. Hold on.
Yeah, there I am. I'm unmuted, right? Yeah.
Hello. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you? Hello, Finn. Hello, everybody. It's great to get in here this morning. It was a little complex, but we made it. Look at
Yes,
those.
we're
Talk
worked
about
out.
navigation. Here we are. So that was just a wonderful chat. I was with Anne from the woman priest, and I was so thrilled because my congregation here in where I live in California is a Roman Catholic women priests, which the Catholic Church doesn't recognize women
Yeah.
priests. So there's a whole thing. And I was just like, we had this fabulous conversation about our navigation and how I found that group because I grew up very Irish Catholic in New York, but it wasn't feeding my soul. So I had to go on a journey, my St. Brendan's journey, many
Absolutely.
years. And I found the spiritual home with Roman Catholic women priests. So it makes me want to cry because it's still a fight to get recognized. But I'm not a priest, but I'm in the congregation. I'm not a priest. But so to have a woman priest just kind of randomly, we got connected. We just had this wonderful conversation to share our journeys in that area, that spiritual area, and how important it is to have your soul be fed, and not just some place of dogma and
Absolutely.
rules and regulations. You have to have your soul fed. So for me, I'm grateful for that. And I feel the same being here with you. It feeds my soul. Because she said, how did you find this? I found this through my spiritual group. Someone sent me your link and information. And I feel fed by listening to your poetry and your stories and your navigation. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, Noreen, would you
And
have anything to say on
yes,
that?
that community, would Mary be one of them? Because they've been in
There are
contact.
many Marys.
Yes,
Mary
exactly.
is kind of a very common name. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know.
But
I'd have to know
would
which
be,
Mary, but
she would,
yeah,
she
there
would
were
be one of the
Marys.
founders, because I've been in contact with them,
Yeah, well, yeah, I can send you the link. They're just wonderful, wonderful women. They were nuns, but they were called to the priesthood, and then
that's
of
right.
course had to go through whatever. But they're wonderful. It's a wonderful community. So
Absolutely.
thank you, and
What's the name of that community there, Elizabeth?
Just Roman
the
Catholic.
attitudes,
Mm.
the attitudes.
Yeah.
Here in Santa Barbara, California, you would find it. And
Yeah.
then you can go on, there's a website and so forth. It shows the two women, Jeanette is one and the other is Suzanne. And they're older, like we're all older now, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
Wonderful.
anyway, thank you very much for today.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
You take care,
I
Elizabeth.
love St. Brendan. I love the navigation journey. Wow.
Lovely.
God bless
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Hello, Kathleen.
Kathleen, lovely. Kathleen Constanta.
Hello. Wait. Audio? Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Unmute myself. Well, it was sheer determination got Regina and myself on the link. But we missed a little bit in the beginning. But I was in conversation with Megan, and we were talking about the water and talking about navigation. It was so funny because both of us live near the water, and how we were both determined to get the link to get on today. So I'll St.
Yeah.
Brendan. He's still with us, right? And yeah, and I was telling them about the groups that you run in Ireland. So you know me, I'm an old soul with it already, but they will maybe in the future, Megan will come as well. So it was a great conversation. Both of us get spiritually filled by these sessions. So that is not a surprise, but that's what we talked about. So it was wonderful. So nice to see you all.
And we'll see you soon in person. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Mighty stuff, Kathleen. Well, may this gathering point your day in the right direction.
Yeah.
Go back to the gallery again.
Lovely.
Sylvia, good.
Hello, Ireland calling. Hello, Sylvia. Now you can unmute yourself there. I think so, anyway. Oh, hold on.
There. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Great. I can't find my hand gesture. I think AI has infected my laptop, and I can't find how to put up my hand. It's a couple of months since I was able to be with you. Lovely to hear your voices again. And I got locked out from the beginning as well. You may have mentioned, I was with Francis speaking to, forgive my hair, by the way, it's conditioned. I was speaking to Frances, who was the first speaker, and I was asking her whether you had mentioned already the Brendan Voyage, the beautiful music of Sean Davy and Master Piper Mark Redmond.
Right.
Had that come up in conversation?
No, but I arise today through God's strength to pardon me. Yes, we know it very well. Yeah, Rita Connolly.
Beautiful.
I would have met her.
The Deer's Cry, yeah, but the performance of Brendan Voyage, Liam O'Flynn,
that's right.
Yeah,
sorry,
the fabulous Piper, and then Mark Redmond, who was my tutor for twice at Willie Clancy's summer school, which I was really, really blessed. No, you're okay. But Mark on Facebook this week sent a clip of him playing the solo part of on his uilleann pipes with David Brophy, who was conducting the orchestra. Probably on St. Patrick's Day. I've heard Mark play it once. It is mind-blowing. I would recommend anyone to go look on YouTube and listen to Mark playing on the uilleann pipes and to listen to Sean Davies' The Brendan Voyage. Brendan Voyage.
Lovely.
Yeah, lovely.
Gorgeous.
Thank you for adding that.
Brendan Voyage, thank you.
It is beautiful. Yeah.
Now, Francis, we'll hear from you. Did you put up your hand? Or maybe...
Yes. Sorry, last time I was just waving a pin. Yes, so I was in a group with Sylvia, and she asked me about the Brendan Voyage, and well, there's two things. First of all, I think what may have happened, because I use there are a number of competing software packages to create communities. And you're using the Circle one. I pay for one called a Mighty Network, and I pay for Zoom separately. But what happens is, I think, well, you sent because when I tried to get in through the Zoom that you sent by email without going into the Circle, I couldn't get in. So I think what it is the software for Circle requires you to go through Circle, because I had no trouble when I went that way. Anyway, I think that's what happened today. That's one thing. But what I wanted to share was, I hope all of you at some point have you watched the Camino Voyage?
I have not. Have you, Noreen?
With Browndown O'Beagley, is it?
Yes, and Danny Sheehy.
And he has passed over, actually.
Yes. And in fact, now I have to be very careful, because I've shown it. I just love that, and I've twice shown it in public here in Newfoundland, and once was with members of my French choir, and I didn't tell them at the start, and a whole community from Saint Pierre. I didn't tell them at the start that at the end we learned that Danny Sheehy subsequently died, and they were furious with me. They all fell in love with Danny Sheehy, and they were like, "You didn't tell us this." So anyway, so now if I'm ever going, I hope to show it again. But anyway, and he has an e-book. Anyway, It was my favorite movie of all time. I could watch it every day. I'll stop there, but
Lovely. I'll
Absolutely
include the
grand.
link to
Yeah.
that. I'll do
Yeah.
up a notes document
Right.
for this chat, so I'll
Yeah.
include the link in there.
No, Brown Donald Begley is one of my is he's a very good friend of mine, and he just recently had me as a guest on one of his series of programs.
Mm.
So he's a marvelous man. He's a mystic.
Yeah, he works with his son now, doesn't he?
That's our
Yeah.
Cormac, who is a psychoanalyst, or
Go on.
he has a doctorate in psychology. Brown Donald.
Well, Noreen, maybe you can lead us in a ritual. I wanted to read a poem.
You? Yeah,
I was
do the ritual.
gifted a collection of poetry
Yeah,
by a woman called Cynthia Ryland. I was actually gifted it in Asilomar in California.
lovely.
And it's a very light-hearted collection, actually, and it's really
Lovely.
about the how we become God and how it is possible for us to become God in this world and experience things as God surely experiences it. And it's called
Very clever title.
God Got a Dog.
It's very, very, yeah.
And they're very quick and they're illustrated as well, which is lovely.
Beautiful.
So it's kind of like a kid's poetry book for adults.
Yeah.
And there's one or two quick ones I'll do for you here because they're
Yeah,
they're
that's
very light-hearted and
That'll
very
be our ritual. Yeah.
insightful.
That'll be our ritual.
And the first one is, I presume Cynthia's American, because the first one's
Yeah.
called God Got Cable. God got cable. And for a week watched nothing but. Didn't see the comet, didn't see the hurricane, missed that baby being born entirely. Just watched cable. Funny thing is, he liked it. He knew he wasn't supposed to. All those girls crying about their boyfriends, all those track meets, all that soap and toothpaste. He liked it. Couldn't help it. Then Gabriel came over with a deck of cards. And the next thing you know, they've played poker 4 weeks straight. Gabriel's beard nearly as long as God's, and corn chips all over the place. And what God decided was that he liked not cable, not poker, but a break. Every now and then, even God needs a break.
That's wonderful.
Second one is called God Found God. It was the weirdest thing. God got all religious on herself. She was looking for something to do, so she went into this church in Boston. One of those churches from the 1800s that likes to consider itself old. This always gives God a good laugh. And she was all by herself, and it was quiet like you wouldn't believe. And up to the sky went these beautiful rafters, and all around her were these beautiful stained glass windows, and everybody was praying. All the people in the pictures, all the statues, all the angels in the room were praying. God knew better than to look at any of the crosses. She was still trying to figure all that out. But she knew that she had actually found a holy place. So she dropped a coin in the building fund box before she went away.
That's lovely. Will I read that one now?
This one,
Yeah.
yeah. God got a desk job. Noreen, take it away.
God got a desk job just to see what it would be like. Made her back hurt. God's always had a bad back anyway. The weight of the world and all that. She thought her job was tough till she sat at a desk all day. It was torture. She could feel the light inside her grow dimmer and dimmer, and she thought that if she had to pick up that phone one more time, she'd just start the whole Armageddon thing people keep talking about. Not her idea, not her plan, but in a pinch. She's sure she could come up with something. The only thing that got her through to the end of the day was Snickers bars.
Wow, yes.
She ate 37.
Yeah. Well.
Plus thinking about the Eagle Nebula in the constellation Serpens. That helped.
So it's very witty and accessible. That's Cynthia Ryland, God Got a Dog. I highly recommend it. When it was given to me, I did roll my eyes, but actually it won me over quite quickly.
Yeah. And so clever, God and dog, of course.
That's it.
Turn them around.
Acronymological.
We should sing that little song for them.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
This is a silly little song that we often sing together with our groups.
And then we'll bid you goodbye and thank you for joining us. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we'll be even clearer next time.
My God is a good God.
Yes, he is.
No, my dog will start.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
we start with dog.
Dog,
Okay.
My dog is a good dog. Yes, he is.
My dog is a good dog.
Yes, he is. Oh, he
Mm.
picks me up and he turns me. Oh, he picks up bones and he stands up tall. He wags
His tail all over the hall. My dog is a good dog. Yes, he is.
Two goods.
My dog is a good dog. Yes, he is. My dog is a good dog. Yes, he is. Oh, he picks up bones and he stands up tall. He wags his tail all over the hall. My dog is a good dog. Yes, he is.
Three goods.
Three goods, I can do it. My dog is a good dog. Yes, he is. My dog is a good dog. Yes, he is.
Oh,
he sticks up bones and he stands up tall. Wags his tail all over the hall. My dog is a good dog. Yes, he is. My God is a good God. Yes, she is.
My God is a good God. Yes, she is. Oh, she picks me up and she turns me round. She sets my feet on higher ground. My God is a good God. Yes, she is. Two goods.
My God is a good God. Yes, she is. My God is a good God. Yes, she is.
Oh,
she picks me up and she turns me round.
She sets my feet
on higher ground. My God is a good God. Yes, she is.
Three goods. Finally. My God is a good God. Yes, she is. My God is a good God.
Yes, she is.
Oh,
She makes me up and she turns me round.
She sets
With
my
my
feet
feet
on
on higher ground. My
God
God is a good God. Yes, she is.
Yes, she is. Oh, Slán go fóil, and the blessings
Thank
of
you,
Saint
Pat.
Brendan, the blessed blessings of Mary, the blessings of Saint Joseph, the
Yes.
blessings of the cosmos be upon you and keep you safe until we meet again.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Keep in touch. God bless.